Okay, I have not been looking forward to this story. As I've said previously, huge disclaimer over this story in particular. This is not for children. Please be wary with this story. Those who are faint of heart and don't like just weird, gross things. This story in particular is next level in the you really need some viewer/listener discretion, okay? It is not pretty, but it's part of the collection, so we're going to go over it anyway. You have been warned. But anyway, Yokoso o ashitare. Welcome to another story. Buckle up. We're gonna get right into it. So, once upon a time, ima wa mukashi, in the province of Kawauchi, in the region of Sasara, in the village of Umakai, there was a man who lived there. This man was a peasant. He was not of noble class, but he was also a very, very wealthy peasant. And he had one single young daughter. Actually, technically, I don't know how young she would be. She's young. Not entirely sure what that means, but she's young. But on the 4th month, this young girl went out to a big mulberry tree that they had on their property. Why did they have a mulberry tree? Well, as many of you are probably aware, silk was a very fine commodity in ancient East Asia. And in order to make silk, you have to raise silkworms. But silkworms really only eat one kind of leaf, and that is the leaf of a mulberry tree. So this family had a very big mulberry tree, specifically for this young girl, because it was she who liked to raise silkworms. And whatever she did with the silk, I don't know. But she went out, as usual, sometime in the 4th month to go harvest mulberry leaves for her silkworms. And so, like usual, she climbs up the tree to go get, I guess, the best leaves, but also because her property was next to a very large thoroughfare, a main road, and she enjoyed watching people go by. So this girl is up in the tree, watching the people go by, just having a good time, probably gathering leaves here and there, when a massive snake came out of nowhere, slithered right up to the trunk of the tree, and wrapped itself around, and just sat there and waited. Now, there were people on the road. They were passing by, and they see this huge snake take up an ambush position at the base of this tree, and they see that there's a girl in the tree, and so they shout out to her that there's a snake down at the bottom. Be careful. And this girl looks down, sees this absolute monster of a creature just lying in wait for her, and she has a little freak out. Obviously, like, whoa, holy crap. But in her freak out, she falls out of the tree. And falling out of the tree would be bad enough. That probably didn't feel very nice. But, and this is where the big warning goes up, warning, weird stuff is about to happen. As soon as this girl hits the ground, this big old snake attacks her, wraps around her, and the word specifically is totsugu. Totsugu is an ancient Japanese phrase, a very direct way of saying, we'll be as euphemistic as possible, but we can't be euphemistic about this. Penetrative intercourse. This snake went inside, is the only way I can describe it. Now, the story doesn't give a lot of details, and I'm kind of glad that it doesn't, because already I'm like, what? But this snake goes inside, and it's there. And it's not moving, and it's staked its claim, I guess is what you could say. And this whole thing is so shocking to this girl. She gets this 1,000-yard stare for a brief moment, and then she just passes out. Because, falling out of a tree, and then a snake doing, oh boy, understandable reaction. Now, this girl's parents saw this whole thing happen, and they scream, and they yell, and they freak out, and they run over to her. But for whatever reason, they can't get the snake out, and their daughter is now just lying helplessly at the base of this giant tree with this snake. And so immediately they go looking for a doctor somewhere. Like, we got to find a doctor. So they call a doctor, and the doctor comes. And taking one quick look at the whole situation, the doctor turns to the parents and says, we've got to get this girl somewhere where we can work with her in safety and security and privacy. Please take her back to your house and put her in the garden. I don't know why they couldn't take her inside, but, whatever, it's the doctor. I'm not going to argue with him. And that's what they do. They take her to their garden, and they set her down gently, and the snake is still in there, not really doing anything else. And this doctor does this weird esoteric thing. So he takes bundles of rice hay. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but stalks of rice. I'm assuming after you've harvested rice, the little stalks that are there, he takes big bundles of these and he lights them on fire, and he collects the ashes. I'm not entirely clear on how all the rest of this works, but he also takes some more bundles of some other plant-like material, and he burns those too, and he collects the ashes. He then takes all of these ashes, and he puts them into some water, like a pot full of water, and then he brings the water to a boil, and he stirs it together and makes this broth of of various kinds of herbal ash. And then what he does is he gets a bunch of boar hairs from big boars. I guess there were some boar pelts around, but he takes a bunch of these hairs, he powderizes them. I don't know exactly how you powderize hair, but takes all this fur and he powderizes it, and he adds that to this mixture. And he continues to boil this concoction until it becomes a nice, thick, sludgy substance. And then what they do is they take some nails, some big stakes, and they put one near the girl's head and the girl's feet, and they suspend her in between these two stakes. I'm not entirely sure, again, how this all works out. That's not really the important part. And again, I apologize, this is gonna get really freaking weird. The doctor then takes this concoction of plant ash and powderized boar fur, and he pours it in. He pours it in to the area that the snake is in, okay? After pouring a good amount of it in, the snake finally releases itself from the inside of this girl and starts trying to slither away, but they catch the snake and they kill it and they dispose of it as, you know, is normal. But if you thought that was bad enough, this next part is... God. Because it's not just the snake that came out. Apparently, according to the ancient Japanese, that was enough to make little snake babies. And little snake babies specifically describes them as being kind of in the shape of tadpoles. But also it says that they were koorite. That means something like to congeal, to come together, to harden. So I don't know if the ancient Japanese believed that snake babies were gelatin-like or liquid or something, or if it's saying that all of these snake babies kind of were stuck together. I'm not entirely sure what it says. Hello, this is your favorite Japanese translator in post-production to tell you that I did the simplest thing I could think of and just looked up what the word means in an old Japanese dictionary. And come to find out, it doesn't have anything to do with congealing or baby snakes having a weird consistency. It simply means to collect together, to be together, to come together. So essentially, all of these baby snakes were just in one big heap. It does not have anything to do with congealing or anything super weird like that. The Japanese were weird, as you can see from this story, but they were not that weird. Or maybe they were that weird. Very weird. I'll leave it up to you. But what I can say is that tons and tons of little snake babies in the shape of tadpoles come out of this girl. One final thing. Apparently, these little snake babies also had boar furs sticking out of them. I don't, oh my, who came up with this? Who came up with this story? It's so weird. It's so weird. The good news is that as soon as all of these little slightly furry snake tadpole babies come out of this woman, she regains consciousness. And her parents are so grateful to this. They start weeping tears of joy because this was a traumatic experience for them to see their only daughter have to deal with this. And so they start asking her, how are you feeling? Are you okay? What happened? What's going on? And this girl doesn't say much, only that she feels like she's been having a bad dream this whole time. She doesn't remember anything of what happened. And, you know, good ending to this story. The doctor saved the girl. Everything was fine. Mostly. She wasn't awake to experience the trauma of all of what just happened. So, lucky for her. And everybody was grateful and everybody was happy. Except they weren't. Because 3 years later, with this exact same girl, this exact same thing happened again. And this time, nobody called the doctor. Nobody went looking for help. Because when something weird happens once, like, okay, weird things happen in the world. But when something like this happens again, the ancient Japanese assumed that this was because this girl had some sort of karmic burden. Something happened in a previous life that meant that this was her lot in life, this was going to happen, and there was no use trying to stop it. Or maybe there just wasn't a doctor nearby again. But this time around, when a snake attacked her, everybody just said, you know what? Nothing we can do about it. And they didn't do anything, and the girl died. And that's the end of the story. Wow. What a story. What? Holy cow. I don't think I will ever translate a story like this ever again. Holy crap. However, thus is it said that the doctor's powers of medicine and his knowledge of healing, being able to come up with this weird concoction that did the trick, was indeed very astounding. Oh, good heavens. You know, I would like to say thank you for watching this video. Ito katejike no koso haberi kere. But, you know, maybe you could have gone without hearing something like this. It is what it is, bro. I don't know what to say. So, if you like this video, or if you were morbidly fascinated by it, please give this video a like. Please, if you feel so inclined, subscribe to the channel. Not all the stories are going to be like this. I'm pretty sure this is the single most disgusting, weirdest story I will ever translate. So, don't worry. And, yeah, as silly as it might seem, I hope to see you in the next one. The next one won't be this weird. We've only got one more story with a doctor, and it's pretty benign. So, no more really weird stuff about doctors curing people of weird things. Okay, so, again, much appreciated. Hopefully, we will see you in the next one. Try not to think about this too much, and have a good one. Adios.